Hi everybody, this is Lucas Nussbaum, and this is Quality Assurance BoF, the continuing from last Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. So to start with, I've listed things that we could discuss today. So some of the things were already discussed on Monday, I think. So first thing is the handling of orphan packages. Then there's the problem of removing packages from unstable when it's for QA reasons. We could discuss MIA. We could discuss UDD. We could discuss the replacement or the improvement of the Debian developer package overview. We could discuss how to make it easier for new contributors to contribute to QA. When we prepared this BoF, we actually discovered that we don't have a wiki page on the wiki for QA, which we need to fix. And another point that was raised during the Monday's BoF is that Popkin is not really relevant for some areas of Debian, and what can we do to improve that? So with Zach, we worked on a proposal for the handling of orphan packages, which I'm going to outline now, and then we can discuss it and amend it. It's only a proposal. So first, this proposal applies for Lenny +1, not for Lenny, because if we start, well, the proposal is about removing packages from testing, orphan packages from testing, and if we start removing packages now, lots of users will miss some stuff because nobody noticed that it was removed. So the first point of the proposal is to move the orphan, the O, ATA, and RFA bugs to the package that they affect instead of assigning them to the WNPP package, and then to set them serious and to tag them WNPP so we can easily find them all. So those bugs are serious. So this has to be discussed in a proposal. So maybe the release team will completely disagree. We'll see. So those packages, since they are RC buggy, they are removed from testing in the same way as the other package. So that means that if a package is useful, is a dependency for another package, the release team might choose not to remove it. But sometimes in the past, the release team removed a buggy package and the package that used it, if it's only a small number of package. Something else related to that is, well, the problem is that usually developers and users don't know about the package that they use. I mean, if they are orphaned or if RC buggy. So simple thing that we could do is add a cron script to the dev script package that sends a mail weekly with the newly orphaned packages amongst those who are installed. So it's mainly writing a small wrapper around RC alert and WNPP alert. Yeah. Something else that users are usually not aware of is locally or obsolete installed, it's an obsolete package that were removed and are still installed, or the package that were installed from outside sources. So the same script could just warn the user about such packages. It's important when a package is removed because you have to discover that it was removed. So pro and cons for this proposal. So pro, it's mostly an automated process. It would be really easy to implement. We don't need to review each package. That's just a default action for each package. But this proposal doesn't solve we have a lot of negative package in unstable problem. So we would still keep all the orphaned packages in unstable, which is not really satisfying. So we actually separated these two aspects. So there's a second proposal for this. So how to remove package from unstable for QA reasons. So this targets useless packages and packages which are in bad shape. The problem with that is if a package is useful to some users, but it's in bad shape, should we remove it or not? That's not easy to decide. So the main, well, actually, maybe we can discuss after it, or just go through all of it, and then we can start. So the first, well, the problem is we need to make it easier to remove and to get back packages. Actually, the problem is that currently it's quite hard. So we could use a separate component or separate section of the archive for unsupported packages, where we will put all the orphan packages. But the problem is then you have to modify a lot of tools to let them know about this additional section. And actually, what happens, well, Ubuntu does that with main and universe, and what happens is that users just install packages without looking at where they come from, so that they end up not knowing what is supported and what isn't. So that's not really a nice solution, I think. Or we have to develop tools to list packages that are supported and those who aren't supported. That's not really good. So we could remove them completely, but make it easier to get them back. So, for example, we could try to keep the binary. Well, when the removal is not for a licensing reason, for example, we could keep the binary package in some public place, so users who really need this package, even if it was removed and it's not of good quality, can still get it there, and it's easy for developers to get them back. So that basically boils down to something like a user-friendly and official, of course, snapshot.debian.net. Another problem that maybe we need to discuss with FTP masters is that it's currently quite difficult to know for which reason a package was removed. There's a big text file with the logs of all the removals, but you can't parse it easily. And well, you have just to find the bug number to know why it was removed is not really, it takes a lot of time. So the rest of the document is just placeholders for ideas about the other things. So yeah, who wants to start? Okay. So yeah, for the microphone, if you only have a really short point to make, you can make it without the microphone speaking loud, and then the next one who talks try to repeat it, because if it just...
I don't think that we can or should make RFA bugs serious, because that's essentially their use case. They are invented so that someone can offer a package without actually letting go of it. And I think that's no reason to move them out of testing or out of stable releases. I mean, at least not automated. I mean, of course, you can say to someone who has filed an RFA and neglects the package that he probably should retitle it to an orphan, but I don't think we should remove them automatically from testing.
For RFA?
Yeah, for RFA. And for ITAs that were previously RFAs.
Well, the problem with ITA bugs is that often they stay ITA for a while, then go back to O state, so there's...
No, I mean, if an RFA bug is retitled to an ITA bug, it obviously should not increase its severity. So we can file RFA bugs at important and O bugs at serious, and retitling them to ITA doesn't change their severity.
I would even say it's up to the maintainer which severity an RFA is filed at, so how desperately they want to have someone taking over. So
well, then maybe it should be orphaned if the maintainer is really desperate about finding someone to maintain it.
Yeah, but the package should, if the package is still in the shape where it, when I'm still maintaining it, but I really want someone else to take over, that's not a reason to remove it from testing.
But then you should not file it as serious.
Yeah, right. So Frank said
Yeah,
we
so
shouldn't
yes,
find the bugs as serious if
You
if
could
the package
want
should
to
still
find
be
a new
intact.
maintainer, but you're not going to commit to support for the whole stable release and the security that a year after the next stable release. That's a long time, and maybe when you file an RFA, don't want to commit to maintain it for the next 2 years or more. So it's up to the maintainer, in my view.
Actually, I think that the problem Lucas was trying to address with this is that there are a lot of RFA which just becomes de facto orphaned packages, but which cannot be recognized as such. So maybe the solution is establishing a QA policy in which RFA after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months becomes automatically orphan.
Or at least a process in which maintainers are asked about that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe RFAs are hard to. It's hard to find people adopting packages using RFA. So I have some packages on RFA for a month, which, well, I'm keeping to maintain it, but yeah, I'm not sure. 1 month, we probably can't time that accurately, but yeah, we should have a look at that. Yeah.
Beside timing it, the point is being sure that at some point it will become an O.
Yeah, just to underline that, the most important thing is to check that there's been activity on the package before automatically retitling it. And one of the things that would be useful is to try to encourage people who are coming in to contribute to Debian to pick up packages which are RFA instead of just packaging new stuff that nobody uses.
I had a package which was on RFA for 2 Debian releases. I wanted people to take it, but that did not mean that the package was going into disrepair. I kept maintaining it. So I think automatically changing something that the maintainer has said that I'm requesting assistance, they shouldn't go to orphan, because if the maintainer wants to orphan it, they can always orphan it, So RFA just means I don't like this package anymore, I want somebody to take it please, but it doesn't mean that it is abandoned. And so no automated process should overrule that.
Well, Manoj, but I think that only shows that you are a good maintainer. Many people use the RFA just saying, I don't like orphaning packages, but I don't care a bit about this one anymore. And, well, maybe automatically sending a mail to the after a certain time without any action could be a good option. Also, maybe if a package has been RFA and has had no action for, say, no new upload for a certain amount of time, then it could be promoted, say, to orphan or something like that, because many people are not as responsible.
Well, we shouldn't by default treat developers as bad developers. I mean, this is the thing that people say about my country of origin, the United States, that everybody treats people like criminals, and that is a bad thing. I think it's also a bad thing to treat developers as bad developers by default. So the thing about not having a new upload, the package that I had put on Assistant hasn't had a upstream upload since 1996. People were still using it. It was useful. It was not in bad shape. I kept it compliant with policy. I don't see why it would just slide into being orphan. You are penalizing a good developer by taking a package that they're maintaining and find useful and saying that, oh, you could be a bad developer, so I'm going to orphan it from you. I don't think that's the right message we want to send.
So several comments. First, if you kept it compliant with policy, you did uploads for it. So
no changes. Policy often.
Yeah. Okay.
Small areas.
Okay. So yeah. So it was compliant with policy. Just didn't state the new standards version, but we don't encourage uploads for that. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. So I agree with you. I think an RFA means that the package is still in the hand of the maintainer, and there should be no automated way to take it away from him.
Yeah.
We should use tools like BAPASE that we have or that we develop to look at these packages, but it should not be in any way automated, but should require manual interaction. An orphan bug means I give up this package. So the maintainer gives up his rights, and the QA group can decide what to do with it. But an RFA leaves the package in the hand of the maintainer, and we should find a reason to take it away from him and not do it automated.
Just to even amplify though, there's no reason why we can't find reasonable metrics for looking at a package. If a maintainer is not responding for pings on an RFA bug, if the RFA bug has no status, if the maintainer doesn't respond, if there are open bugs that have no change in status, these are all methods that can be used as stuff to feed into a semi-automated process to automatically identify bugs that, okay, these are bugs that are likely to be orphaned. So it's not a case that we only have to have a manual process. We should have, there's a point for some automation with human oversight.
Yeah, the process should be automated, but the action taken should be manual.
Right, exactly.
But that can apply to all packages.
Indeed, there's nothing specific to RFA, but this is a case where we know that there's a possibility that the package is going to become orphaned.
Just for detail on the proposal, is everybody okay with the idea of moving the OITA and RFA bugs to the package affected?
Yes.
Yeah, the only thing to wait on that is to make sure that I've finished effects support in the BTS. So do it for a couple and test it, make sure it works sanely, and then you can move them all.
What effects?
Okay, so effects is a new feature which enables you to nominate a bug as affecting some other package. So there are lots of times where you have bugs that it's not a bug in your package, but your package happens to be the package that users figure out that there's a bug. For example, if libc6 is totally hideously busted and your package seg faults, well, it may not be the fault of your package, it's libc6's fault, for example. So you could take this bug and say, okay, this bug that's actually filed against libc6 affects my package. It'll show up in your package list, and hopefully users, as they're checking to see why the crap is your package so buggy, will see this bug and not file another bug that you have to reassign to libc6 and merge with the existing bug.
Well, but in that case, we were only thinking about reassigning to the package without marking.
Well, so the idea is for orphaned ITA and RFA bugs, you would assign them to the package, mark them as affecting the WMPP pseudo package. And because you've done that, they will they show up still in WMPP. So that if you're a QA person, you can get the overview of all those bugs instantly. And they show up in the original package so that they affect transition.
So you would prefer to have that instead of a W1PP tag?
You can still use tags in addition, but...
Well, then you get redundancy between the two of them.
Well, the tags are much more than just WMPP, because the tags you can use to sort, you can use to do other things, besides just indicating that they affect a package. So, I don't see a point for just tagging the bugs in WMPP, because they're already going to be there. But you're not doing that currently. You're using tags like, it's WMPP, orphan, WMPP, whatever, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, but the point of the WMPP tag is that then you can get all the bugs with that tag easily.
But you can do the same if it's
With
affected.
effects.
You just go effects equals WMPP and bam, they all show up.
Well, some time ago I started to reassign the bugs to both the main package and WMPP. I don't know what's the main difference between doing that and using effects?
Right. So the reason why you don't want to use comma delimited packages is because a comma delimited bug is a bug that can be fixed by a change in either package. Does not matter which package you fix it in, either package can fix the bug correctly. An effects bug can only be fixed by a change in the package which it's actually assigned. So we currently use comma assign bugs, but it's not the right way. The right way is to assign the bug to the package where the bug is in and affects everything else.
Yeah, but well, we could also use a point of view where using it also in WMPP, one can remove the package or find it, and that's the other status, and that's the a possible way to fix it.
In the time that you're going to remove a package, you're going to then clone the bug and reassign the cloned orphan bug to ftp.debian.org. At the point of removal, it's no longer a problem of WMPP, that's FTP master bug. So, yeah, it wouldn't be appropriate to assign it to WMPP at that point.
While we are at it, Don, what do you say about adding support? So, okay, let's assume we move the bug to the affected packages, and I think that would solve the visibility problem of orphaned package would be to have a sorting in the BTS, so that when you go to the BTS page for a given package, you see first, maybe with a big fat warning, something like, this package is orphan.
You'll see that already, because it'll have a serious bug that's open, and so it'll be at the top and serious. So it makes package unfit for release, etc. So it should be warning enough that your package has issues. And it'll show up in things like RC alert and etc.
Does someone else have something to say about this, or should we move on? Move on?
Do we all agree that orphan bugs should be severity serious? I mean, it's a large change, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just a quick comment on that. For removal bugs, these could be tagged as affecting the very package that is being removed. So that's another point for visibility.
You mean using affects for that?
Yeah.
I guess that's something that we should probably work with FTP master to figure out how they want to work that, because that's really an FTP master sort of decision. But it is an option. So maybe that's something, a policy that needs to be documented better, because there's user tags for FTP master that no one is using. So probably a good idea.
Okay, so let's move on. No one else wants to? Okay. So I'll let you reread this. Yeah, that's all. So Ganef, yeah.
Okay. For the bugs, feel free to tag them in whatever way you want. Retitle them, effect, whatever. We always like it if someone is going through our bug list. We never complain that one. For the removes, the more removal, the better.
Sorry, I didn't...
The more removals, the better. We like to remove packages as much as we like to accept new ones in.
You're very overzealous.
Well, the problem with removals is that when you remove a package, it's no longer available for... Sometimes it's a problem for some users. So I think it was... Well, useless packages sometimes are useful to a few users for good reasons.
Yep, we regularly get complaints from a few users that want the package back in. Usually it's easy if you just re-upload it. For one point that I read says is user-friendly official snapshot Debian.net. There's currently a snapshot Debian.org in the works. We are currently talking to sponsors to get machines that can support it. Will take a little while until that's officially available, but that would be one solution.
Do you have a timeline, approximate timeline? Just to get an idea.
Within half a year or a year or something at latest. The sooner the better. We currently have the proposal for the hardware written and send it to our sponsors and see what comes back. Some of them already look for ways they can support it. But we need pretty big machines to really support a whole snapshot Debian.org. So it's not something you can easily give out. For the difficult to know for which reason a package was removed, if someone approaches FTP master and wants a different kind of log file for removals, we can easily create something, comma separated or XML or whatever weird format something wants. That's no big problem.
Are you finished? Okay. I still have a problem with the whole term useless package. I mean, package in bad shape I can understand, but what exactly is for you a useless package that's not also in bad shape?
Yeah, that's a problem.
Okay, let's not go down that road. Yeah, but for example, in currently in Bapase, we have like the list of old orphan packages, we have the list of buggy packages, and we have the list of often immute packages, and we have the list of useless packages. And currently, I find the list of useless packages pretty useless, I have to say. If you go through it, there are many packages that are well maintained or very current. I see no problem with that. I mean, I have a package too that has like 9 Popcorn installations, and I see no problem with that. I use it pretty heavily, and I will maintain it, and so I see no fault in that.
Well, I think that basically the targets are orphan packages, useless and in bad shape, or 2 of the 3 at least, or maybe 1 of the 3 with a really bad state. Well,
yeah, Frank is right in that direction. It's pretty hard to define useless.
Yeah.
I agree with Manoj and say VI is useless. Other people will say Emacs is useless. So that's a pretty bad target to take. Packages in bad shape is much easier. You can look at the bug numbers they have. You can look at the standards version. If it's something like 1.0, it's probably a bit old.
yeah, but then sometimes you have packages that are completely neglected for years and still useful to some users, and could be really useful to some users.
Yep. But if that's the point, we must not remove them from testing if they are orphaned.
Well, they might not even be orphaned.
Yeah, I think that we should just target orphaned packages. If someone is maintaining a package, it is useful per definition. Or the maintainer is weird, but if it's maintained, it will probably work. So I think the useless packages search, if useless is orphaned, pretty much resolves itself by the previous discussion we had. If it's removed from testing, we can just wait some time, maybe after the next release or 2 months or whatever, and then remove it from unstable because no one will be hurt. And if no one does scream up at that point, they are out of luck.
I would like to say also about these packages which have low Popkin score, for example. We are seeing a problem of archive growing pretty much exponentially, right? And that's mostly due to the packages which have low Popkin scores, I bet. Even if they are well maintained, right? People write something, people write the utility which only they are using, or maybe their friends, they push it into Debian. We end up with, 3 or 5 DVDs, I don't know how many. So the idea is that it is probably worth thinking, maybe not in this case, but in some larger subproject, that we need a way to somehow, remove packages which we don't need. Like I don't think we need 10 different DNS servers in Debian or something like that.
Or editors.
We certainly need 10.
Yeah, we do.
Of course we do.
No doubt.
Well, okay, DNS server is a bad example. but I'm sure there are other categories of packages where you have a couple of packages which are used
frequently and by a lot of people, and then you have a long tail of packages which have very low Popkin scores.
Sorry, if I could just, one of the things that, another set of packages, even if there's, that's totally separate, are packages which are not maintained and not used. And because of those two things, we have no clue that they're in bad shape because no one files bugs about anything. That's far more important to me than packages that are maintained and not used by a lot of people, or packages that are maintained and only used by one person. The thing that concerns me is packages that are doing nothing but bloating the archive. Packages that no one uses and no one maintains. And it's kind of hard to find those, but you can sort of look at Popkin, maybe give you a clue. The other big thing is looking at number of uploads. So I mean, if you combine Popkin with recent uploads, then that would give you a set of packages that maybe you should ping the maintainer. If the maintainer doesn't respond, and say that, oh yeah, I use this package, or yeah, users are using this package even though it doesn't show up on Popkin, then maybe those are some packages that should be removed.
I don't know if you are familiar with BAPAS, which I briefly, have you, well, I will just show you as soon as the browser starts. Yeah, my laptop is slow. Okay. So, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so this lists packages using different criteria. So we have the time, number of days since when it was orphaned. Well, won't be able to show it with the mouse. Yeah. So this package, for example, was orphaned in 2002. This is the number of days since when it was last in testing, and since it last migrated to testing. Popkin, time of the last upload, which is broken currently, it shouldn't. The number of NMUs since the last maintainer upload. So with this kind of thing, and with assigning a score to each column, you can kind of get an idea of good targets for what you basically does what you just said.
Yeah, that's pretty useful, yeah. Probably be good to make a DDA post about it or something so people are aware that it exists.
I think that the only thing which is missing in Bapaza, which don't mention, is the frequency of uploads. So you already have the number of NMUs, but you currently don't have the number of uploads in the last year or something. Well, we have the last upload, and if the last upload is 3 years ago, I'm not sure if we need to have the frequency, because if there was a maintainer upload in the last year, anyway, it's maintained.
But the converse isn't true.
Yeah, sure. That's why you need several columns, and you have to combine all the data.
I think we have to be very careful at any one of these data points. We have to be careful, because if you see, regular uploads of a package, that probably means somebody's actively maintaining it, but not seeing uploads doesn't mean it's not being actively maintained. It may just mean that it's nice, stable, robust software that doesn't break all the time.
Yeah, sure. That's why it works by assigning a score to each column, just to give an idea of which package should be investigated. It's not about removing them automatically.
I understand that. I just want to make sure we don't lose sight of some of this in talking about these details.
I wish there was some way of correlating this with how missing in action the maintainer is. So if the maintainer is active, the chances are that the packages that they are carrying along are likely to be well looked after. So that will take care of Badale's category. So if there is something which is not been uploaded for a while, doesn't have that many users, I wish to also note that Popkin is not universally reliable. I have a whole bunch of machines that I use at work where we do not allow popcorn, company policy. I know it's stupid, but that is reality. People might not allow popcorn requests to go out. So we can't just say that there is low popcorn, therefore it is not useful in a whole lot of situations. So if we know that the maintainer is not MIA, maybe we don't need to have a look at throwing these packages out. I also have this problem with the useless package issue.
The thing is that no removal should be done automatically. There should always be a contact to the maintainer. So the maintainer, even if it's a package that needs low maintenance, can always reply and tell the people this package is still used and works and has no bugs. So no package, even if it's as low maintained as your package, should get removed.
It is true that the MIA status of the maintainer would be a useful metric to add. It's probably a bit difficult because at the moment it is not openly available due to privacy concerns. So it might be, maybe it's possible to just export a numeric value or something, or a metric on its own from there without exposing all the mails and status reports that are in the MIA database.
Yeah,
so that would be the technical solution would have to be decided. But it is not true that if a maintainer is active and has packages that are in very good shape and that he maintains actively, that that's no reason to offer other packages of him. There are maintainers that care about only a subset of the packages that they maintain according to packages file, and that don't offer, or even RFA packages that they don't care anymore, they just don't upload them anymore. So it's also one point of the metric, but you still need to have a look at the package level too.
Yeah, the other problem with using MIA is that if a maintainer has only 2 or 3 packages, he is unlikely to have been reported to MIA. So we won't know his MIA while he is, and his package might be neglected.
Maybe everybody should be in the MIA database.
But everybody is actually in the echelon part of the database.
Then I don't understand what you just said.
Well, the problem is that MIA status is, well, if you use a metric based on the last activity, then you will see it. If you use just the status of the maintainer in the MIA database, that is busy, pinged, or I don't remember because I'm not really familiar with MIA, but the status of the state until which the maintainer was processed by the MIA team, then you won't see those maintainer. If you use the last activity, then it works. Yeah. Yeah.
So I would think that the MIA database would be a superset of number of uploads the maintainer has done, because every upload would probably end up in the MIA database, right? I don't know. I've never seen what's in there.
I can show you your record if you want.
A couple of comments from Peter Hudson on IRC. He's saying that maintainers active elsewhere in the Debian project do not mean that their packages are cared for. You know, they can often be inactive on one package and active on another. And he's also saying he's seen several examples of people being active on the lists or other parts of the project, but just ignoring several of their packages which are rotting in the archive. I'm probably guilty of that myself. And yeah, that's That's Peter's comments anyway. Thanks.
Yeah, well, we have to take MAA into account, but it's not it's the same as for the last upload. You can't use only that. You have to use that together with the rest of the data. Sorry?
Which problem are we discussing at the moment, actually?
I think that
don't really see the point.
Yeah, I think that the problem is to find packages that are in the archive and that shouldn't be there, and to act on that. So
well, can't we just make orphan packages not being in testing the target and then be done with the discussion?
Well, the problem
part of the discussion is done. We are at the next point. Do you remember?
Well,
if that point doesn't interest you, you can always sleep or something. Yeah, but that's anyway the current topic of the discussion. Yeah.
No, the problem is that packages that tag in the archive and that clearly shouldn't be there just add noise to a lot of things. For example, to all the QA tasks that run over all the archive have to analyze those packages too, so you file bugs and packages that are anyway not interesting.
Also, currently the release team has a policy that in unstable there shouldn't be anything which is not meant to be released. But okay, in addition to that, I was trying to move the discussion to the point of which I think is the most tricky one in that part, which is where to put the packages which are removed so that we can easily resurrect them a posteriori.
When we say that there are a lot of packages in the archive, there's no controversy over that. When we say that having a lot of packages in the archive causes certain things to take more processing time than if there were fewer packages, there's no controversy over that. The moment we start talking about, the relative value of the different packages, this is where we run into a controversy. And I think the challenge that I've always felt around this particular topic is that it is a combination of a case where it's very difficult to come up with an objective criteria and a situation where we are, in some sense, sort of messing with one of the basic, really very fundamental social characteristics of the Debian project for a very long time, which is if there's someone who cares enough to work on something and to contribute it, that we would like to have it and we would like to have them and their participation and to grow the Debian community and its spirit and so forth. And so I think it's very, very important for us to try and come up with some sort of objective criteria if we're going to change the generally inclusive model of Debian for both human participants and packages in the archive. And I think we have to be very careful not to be too simplistic about what that objective criteria is, because as we've all demonstrated in this conversation, there are, for every rule that you try to write, there's some counterexample that says, well, here's a case where that's not true. So I'm not trying to discourage anyone from thinking about this, but I would discourage anyone from trying to believe that this is a short-term, something that we can fix quickly with a couple of conversations, because I think when we start talking about changing the rules for sort of acceptance and inclusion of packages in the archive and adding sort of non-package structuring technical or bug-related criteria to it, that this is a very fundamental and deep change in the project, not a small policy change.
Sorry, that was my way of saying that I totally agree with what Bidale said.
Basically, removing a package can be, difficult, that's everybody agrees. And maybe just having something which is not really completely QA, but advertising in some way that some package Debian likes and some package Debian consider at some stage he might remove. I'll take an example. It's not maybe not the best one,
we have two TFTP servers, which, as far as I understand, have the same code, but one of them have more patches. And those patches have been in Debian since ever. And maybe one of those two could be removed. And in some way, if a group of people were just saying, okay, we analyze those kind of thing, and we just discuss about it and advertise somewhere that one of those two packages could be removed at some stage, or
traditionally, the way this has been done is you go and talk to the guys who are maintaining it and have them voluntarily say that, okay, I'll withdraw mine, or this one doesn't belong. I think I would much rather have that, where people themselves realize that their contributions might not be as useful to Debian or detrimental to Debian, rather than trying to impose by a bunch of guys, in power, to say that your contribution should be thrown out.
I wasn't talking about having someone empowered to say, just saying, okay, we have those two packages, they achieve the same functionality, and just all together with the users, especially, those who pretend to be those users, and just, no. No, yes, having really the users and their package maintainers and tracking this issue, and just to know if it's possible to remove those two, and to say, okay, we prefer this one, and this one seems less used, and maybe keep it for one release and then just remove it.
I think the only thing we can currently agree on is that we can't agree on a definition of useless packages, because it's just too wide, and we are running out of time and should probably go on with something more useless for this time, useful for this time currently.
I wanted just to say, Debian had in the past defined a way to say for a package that it is a duplication, because we have the extra priority, but it is not consistently used. But something like, that should be something someone who is interested in that might be looking into. So, for example, reviving the extra priority, that might be an idea, or adding even a lower priority in the archive. But as said before, if you... that was my point.
Can you scroll up a little bit? Lucas, scroll up a little bit. A last word to those proposals you have there. The separate section or component for unsupported packages, I don't think that this will ever be supported at FTP master, for reasons you already mentioned.
Does someone want to comment on something else that was in this list? We have 5 minutes left, so... Does someone want to comment on anything?
So I was talking last time when we were during the first QA talk about new possibilities for UDD and some ideas which I mentioned. So just so they don't get lost, it's keeping all the files of every package, the metadata in the UDD. So for example, you can detect cases when a file introduces, when the package has a file in it which is already present in another package. So that you don't upload the package, and after that, when the user tries to install it, they get the famous error that it tries to overwrite a file from another package.
You want the list of files for each package?
I think it would be reasonable to, like, it's not that lot of information, is it?
Well, it is.
So it's not gigabytes, right?
It is.
It is.
We are currently planning a redesign for the DAC database, and that includes keeping everything we need for packages and for contents in the database. It's not that hard to keep it all.
So other things where the detection of people building packages against library versions which are not currently and unstable, for example. So UDD could contain the list of libraries which are currently unstable, and after you generated dependencies for your package, a lintian check could be made which would warn if you, for example, link to a library which is not currently present in unstable.
No, it couldn't.
Why not?
Lintian doesn't support external dependencies in its checks.
Well, it should. That's part. I mean, the whole idea of using UDD to introduce new methods is that lintian would optionally support querying UDD for data and then using dynamic checks.
Yeah, it is correct that we need a tool to do that. I'm not sure if lintian is the correct place to edit, but we certainly need a tool that the maintainer can run on his local machine and that will fetch all the necessary information. In the past, we always did reject the idea to add that to lintian, so that lintian would be a static checker that would always result in this, almost always result in the same results if you run it on the same package and the same lintian version. I don't know if we should add that functionality to lintian or write a wrapper around lintian and some other thing. For example, this conflicts check was mentioned in the Mancosi presentation. So they have a tool for that. So, because, for example, the conflicts check is not simple. It needs to check. It is simple in most cases because you can just say that there is no package that conflicts. But if you have a probable conflict, you still need to actually download the other package and investigate it, because some things can't automatically determine, like diverts stuff.
I think that I have got a technical objection to doing that kind. I have a technical objection to doing that check. For example, when a new version of SE Linux comes out, the first things that are built are 4 new libraries: libxc Linux, libxcpol, and so on. At the same time, if I upload these new libraries, I also need to upload packages that will work with them, check policy and policy loading tools. So what I do is I set up the dependencies correctly. I have a local pool. I build all my packages, install it in my local build daemon, and then I send it out. So at the point I do the upload for these libraries do not exist in the archive yet.
Lintian errors do not prevent you from uploading.
But what's the point in having a useless report which is going to be ignored most of the time anyway? I mean, lintian needs to be producing warnings which are relevant so that we don't start just ignoring warnings and miss something which is real in the meanwhile.
And some of these problems are probably better solved on the FTP master level anyway, like the plan to maybe in the future just rebuild everything anyway, so that you so that only checks against the build dependencies would make sense anyway. I mean, but yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry, we are finished. Is there someone that thinks that we should have a third QA BoF, or are we done? You are allowed to say so. Okay, cool.